So there's a little bit of troubling news when it comes to Xbox, and I have to say this is some of what I've been saying for a little while now, in the fact that Xbox has done a good job of getting some things out there, but they haven't done a good job of actually releasing their games, and that's been a very big point of contention from me personally. And what I mean by that is they've announced a lot of different games, and we have no idea when these games are coming out, and most of them seem to be years away still. If you look at what's going on, even with something like Halo Infinite, there's rumors cropping up right now that this game could be pushed into next year even, and that's a possibility, and that's even according to people like when we see the situation with Jason Schreier and things like that. So yeah, I don't really take anything for granted when it comes to when games are going to release, and when are we going to see something come out, even on the PlayStation side. But I think on the PlayStation side we at least get an idea a little bit better of kind of what to expect and things like that. So yeah, that's sort of how I look at this, and I do hope that you guys look at that too. This isn't an attack necessarily on Microsoft, but one of my big worries about Xbox and Microsoft has been their inability to really get anything out the door, and it looks like that much is continuing to be true, unfortunately. And I remember a little while ago, maybe a month or two ago, I had mentioned that there was an insider who had spoken to several people at Xbox Game Studios, and they had mentioned that Everwild, Perfect Dark, and Fable were still years and years away, multiple years, in fact. And in fact, not only were they years and years away, but I think that they are also could potentially come out if there's a mid-gen refresh of the Xbox after that point, which I think would kind of bum out a lot of people that spent so much money to get games on the One X and then the Series X, which has been a long complaint of mine as well. So hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from with that. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to, just complain for the sake of complaining. I'm trying to question the thought process of a trillion-dollar company and Phil Spencer in, releasing so many consoles, 3 since 2017, and yet we have no games to play, and it doesn't look like we're going to have much. Thankfully, maybe Bethesda might come through at some point, but man, is it the leadership at Xbox? Like, that's the thing that I really start to question. Like, why can't they get games out? So here's the deal. We have this situation in particular with Everwild, okay? And according to this, which I'll link, Everwild is in troubled development, and it's still a long way off. Rare's next big thing seems to have development issues, according to the latest rumors. The game is still a long way off and was having major issues getting off the ground. Everwild is a hotly anticipated Game Studios title, which we already got to see a couple of times. However, gameplay footage of the game has yet to be revealed, and last year, Rare head Craig Duncan said they didn't show or discuss Everwild much yet because they still have playing around with the gameplay ideas. On top of this, creative director Simon Woodruff also left Rare shortly after that for unknown reasons, which certainly is not great news for the game. Today we have rumors which reveal more bad news for the game. According to HDTV test Evil Boris, Rare did not have a game when they showed the first trailer back in 2019. Evil Boris clarified that the team is perhaps now further in development and could have sorted the problems, but also mentions that what he heard more recently backs up troubles the game had. Additionally, he says the game is still a long way off and does not expect it to be this year or even next year. Now, it's certainly possible that Everwild development is not going ahead as Rare would have wanted, but we also have to say that the claim that Rare don't have a game is odd, well, according to this anyway. We know from some people that Everwild is a third-person action-adventure with God game elements. This has been reported after the first trailer. Anyway, they hope for the best with this situation. Now, so this guy's saying when they actually showed off that trailer, that CGI trailer, that there is no game yet, right? The problem, and I know people might go, well, that's impossible. Listen, the same type of situation basically happened with Hellblade 2. You guys have to understand how, like, sometimes how this game development stuff works, which is you can have stuff in pre-production, And and that's, I think, basically what the situation was with multiple games that Microsoft announced, and that was basically sort of the situation that I think we actually ended up with, right? So not only is Everwild probably still years away, and they lost their creative director, and then you look at Hellblade 2, who just hired a game director this year, and Fable just hired a lead writer and had to build an engine this year. But harken back to the earlier in April, there was a rumor that says, forget Elder Scrolls 6, Xbox's Perfect Dark, Fable, and Everwild still likely years away. And that was according to an insider as well, who said the same thing. So that makes you have to wonder kind of what's going on. Now, that's not the only bit featuring these games, right? You would think that maybe it would be a given that we'd see something this E3 from them, right? But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. According to Jeff Grubb, anyway, with E3 2021 coming up in less than a month, we're beginning to hear about games that will possibly be at the show. But by that same token, we're also hearing about games that won't be. Recently, journalist Jeff Grubb spoke about a number of games that will fall in the latter group in a live stream, and it seems there's quite a few big names that miss out on this year's show. The most prominent of these is Elden Ring. In spite of earlier reports that From Software's long-anticipated RPG might show up at E3, Grubb says that it definitely will not be at Xbox's show, and that it probably won't be at E3 at all, even outside of that. Meanwhile, where Microsoft news is concerned, Grubb also says upcoming first-party titles like Everwild and Hellblade 2 also won't be at the show. Specifically in Hellblade 2's case, Grubb said it's a matter of not having gameplay footage to show, and Microsoft being reluctant to show another cinematic trailer for the game again. Finally, the new Hideo Kojima game, which, as per the leaks, is being made exclusively for Xbox, is not going to be announced at E3 either, and might instead be unveiled at the Game Awards later in the year. All of these obviously are unverified reports, so take it with a grain of salt, but with E3 2021 not far away, we'll know more one way or the other. Now, it was very interesting because today, and you guys know how I feel if you followed my channel about this Clobrell kid. I don't think that person is an insider at all. First of all, if he was an insider, he would have known that there was trouble with Everwild and that game was nowhere near coming out. And he said multiple times that he thinks that game's coming out next year. So, and he's also a guy that completely fabricated people's resumes and made it look like they left Naughty Dog to join Xbox Studios on LinkedIn. So trustworthy he's not, but again, Xbox fans tend to go where there's positivity, and that's where that guy comes in. And he came out with some kind of E3 list for Microsoft, and it was the worst E3 list I've ever seen. It was like Sea of Thieves content update and Grounded launch. Grounded already came out. I get that it's in the preview program, but nobody cares about that. Sea of Thieves is a hit, but you know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to see more Sea of Thieves crap at E3. I'm just being honest about this stuff. Okay, and there's even rumors that Halo might not hit this year. Now it's also heavily rumored that Starfield is going to be a next year game. We honestly are just sort of in this weird situation where these games are becoming so tough to come out for Microsoft, and it's really kind of bumming me out. Even something like Forza Motorsport, which used to come out every 2 years, the last one came out 4 years ago, and it doesn't look like we're very close to getting the next one out. So, it is very upsetting. And like Hellblade, that was the first game that was announced for the Xbox Series X in 2019. And I know that was all just CGI, and the game's going to be an Unreal Engine 5 game, which is fine. That engine doesn't even launch till later this year, the end of the year. So, I had said all along that I thought that game was 2023 or so, and people called me crazy and said it was going to come out. Believe it or not, people argue with me that was going to be a launch game for Xbox, and certainly people thought it would come out but sometime this year, but it hasn't happened. It has not happened, folks, and I don't know what else to say about this because it is a bit of a bummer. And then we see like this kind of stuff happen where it doesn't look like Microsoft is able to sort of get their games out of the door. And I honestly do not understand it. I don't claim to be able to understand it, and it is really kind of disheartening to say the least. And I hope Microsoft can get their stuff together sooner rather than later, because it really does seem to matter. Like, it matters to me. I want some games to play on my Xbox. Like, I don't understand why this is taking so long to get done. It just makes no sense. But let me know what you guys think. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. This has been Crapgamer Reviews. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.